Hi guys. So I normally don't do something like this, but I decided that I would do a little bit of reading from Deviants and Decadents. I really wanted to give you guys an idea of what's inside of it if you haven't read it already. We have several authors that are in this book, so it was started out as a collection of mine, but I never really like to focus just on myself. When I see that I have some stories that might be maybe emphasized or enhanced by some of the work of authors that I really admire, then sometimes I'm like, maybe I could get them to come in on this. And that's kind of what happened with this collection. I have been on a very long hiatus due to, of course, health reasons, which I've already gone over, but just for some other things as well. So I really wanted to come back and just explore my range, explore my thoughts, dive into some poetry because I was doing some inward, you know, retrospect, introspect, just trying to find out where my own head was at. And poetry is very vulnerable because it can be interpreted in so many ways, but you're really telling the truth in your poetry, right? So I don't know. I really just wanted to have this collection come about. And then because it's so vulnerable, a lot of my friends were there for me during times that were really bad. And I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by friends who are very creative, who are authors or artists. And I thought there's no other way to expose the dark, deviant side of the female psyche than to have these women alongside me. So I wanted to really let you know that these women are out there as well and to showcase them in a collection that I feel really proud of. So this is Deviants and Decadence, and this story that I'm going to read to you from is called Brimstone Manor. And Brimstone Manor was sort of my thought process in this was, sometimes we like to bury trauma and we live an outward life that puts that trauma into a secret place, into a secret box. So I think we all have that inside of our head where we can kind of put something away, compartmentalize it. And for some people, it's really hard to now distinguish which is real and which is put in those boxes or put in the dark halls of our psyche, right? So again, this is Brimstone Manor, and I'd like to read it to you. Victor stood in the heat, drinking out of a bottle of water on the side of the road. After 20 years of driving, 20 years? After 20 hours of driving, he'd finally made it to the border of Midnight Falls. The two-lane road was long. Turning left and right, he could see nothing behind him or in front of him, not a single car, building, or tree. He took another drink of water, then tossed the bottle into his car with the other trash piling up on the passenger side. He made as few stops as he could, never looking back on the life that he was leaving behind. After a few minutes of stretching his legs out, he climbed back into his car and looked up at his sun visor. The smiling faces of his wife and newborn son stared back at him. In a subconscious response, he scratched his arm where the familiar itch crawled through his vein. Victor's heart raced, and a hot flash washed over him. No, he whispered. He leaned forward and turned the car on and blasted the air conditioner. His fingers gripped the steering wheel, and he let out a scream before slamming his foot on the gas and heading to his destination. This is 6 months ago. Victor? Victor was tuned out, lost in a bad memory. The group of people he met with for the past 2 years stared at him in silence. Victor, the voice called to him again. His counselor's voice was soft and soothing. I know this is difficult for you, but let's try to talk through what you're experiencing right now. Victor shook his head and looked at her. His dead wife, Maria, stared at him from over the woman's shoulder. I'm sorry, he said, his voice crackled and dry. Honestly, Krista, I have no idea what the fuck I'm experiencing right now. Am I grateful to be alive? No. My fucking wife and son are dead. Burnt to a goddamn crisp. 6 months I've come here. Every week you ask me what I'm experiencing. Every week I tell you the same thing. I'm fucking angry. The members of the group looked down at their hands. Some of them slouched forward into sobs. Others hid their tears behind damp, crumpled Kleenex. Krista stayed calm. Her restraint made Victor want to punch her in the face. He wanted to destroy everything around him, including himself. It's okay to feel that way, Victor. There's no predetermined time of working through things. Maria's eyes remained fixed on him, blackened tears trailing down her cheeks onto her floral suit-covered dress. Working through things? How does one work through losing everything? I feel nothing. I want nothing, and I don't want to get better. He started to laugh with the weight of relief, having said what he kept bottled up all along. I came here because the court ordered it, he said as he stood from his chair. The truth is, I want to drive my car into the cemetery, walk to the place my wife and son are buried, then dig up the dirt and crawl inside with them. Fuck this bullshit, I'm out of here. Victor kicked the chair out of his way, making Krista's body jerk to the side. He stormed over to her and leaned down so his face was inches from hers. She leaned way back with him following. He placed both hands on the back of the metal chair on either side of her, boxing her in. Krista's body tensed, and she forced herself to look him in the eye, but he could see her shaking in fear. It was the first time he felt something since the funeral. It was so powerful, it was like taking his first hit of heroin. Go fuck yourself. So in this story, you might see a little bit of some discrepancies in time. And I put that in there on purpose because I really wanted to understand that sometimes when we go through trauma, we don't really know time. We don't really understand how long something has been. We don't remember a timeline like we should. And sometimes that can work against us. But I really wanted to bring you into that because it can make the person experiencing it feel very crazy. It can make them feel like they don't have a grip on the world. But anyway, that's Brimstone Manor. I hope that you'll check it out and I hope that you'll read the other stories. I hope that you enjoy it. I may do another one because there's a favorite story in here that I get a lot of people that say is their favorite. So if you like what I've done so far, you want to see more, if you want more readings, if there's a story in here that's your favorite, give me a comment below and let me know.